next Java video. So basically, in this one we're going to be doing methods. Now as we can see, we already have a method in our class, and that is public static void main blah blah blah. Now if you want to create your own method, you can do so by going static void, and then we put the name here, so let's just say hello. You can do any name you want. Yet again, programming is, it's about creativity. And let's put in a system.out.println. Yet again, this is actually a method too, so it just shows how much methods are used. And let's just say hello. Now, obviously if we were to run this, it wouldn't do anything. That's because you have to call your method. And calling a method basically means you go into your main method, which is run automatically, and you just type the name of the method, and then you put brackets next to it, right? And then we'll get hello, right? So this is basically a way of running code that you don't really want to, well, I guess the best way to put it is code that you want to reuse. So if I wanted to say hello lots of times, instead of having to go system.out.println hello every single time, I could just copy and paste it a ton of times. It'll say hello a ton of times. Alright? And that's basically what it is. Basically every time, and if your program becomes more complicated, you're going to need stuff like this. It's guaranteed you're going to need methods. And yeah, so this is one example of a method, and I didn't really explain what this is, and that's because we'll get to that in a second. Let's not worry about static, right? That's just making things easy for us right now. But very quickly, static basically just means it can't be used by objects. That's basically what it means. But we'll talk about objects later. We'll talk about classes. We'll get to that. That's the later stuff. For now, let's focus on this, void. What does void mean? Now, void is basically the return type. So void means there's no return type. So we system.printed hello, and then we got that, right? If we wanted something that did have a return type, so say static, and then let's say string, not sting, string, and then we went greeting of some sort, we get a bit of a problem, and that is that we get this underline, and this means we have to have a return statement, right, as you can see right here. Now, what is a return statement? What does return do? Essentially, if you really think about it, the result of this method, the result of the calculations or whatever takes place in this method is returned, right? And because of that, you could treat this method, so every time you call it, like we did with hello, as if it's a variable. So let's say we wanted to make a string down here, and we wanted to call it just S for string, and we then said it is equal to greeting. Then we obviously put the brackets there, and we're allowed to do that. Now, of course, this returns null, which means absolutely nothing. Probably think, oh, why not 0? Well, 0 is something. So null is basically the Java's equivalent of nothing. But you still want it to be there. So let's return something like, say, hello, hello there, getting a little bit more advanced. So, oh yeah, we have to also, yet again, we've assigned this string S the value of what is returned by greeting. So we then need to print out, we need to then print out we then need to print out s. So then we can go here and put s, and then there we go, hello, hello there. So, right, so we get this run, and then this is assigned this value, and then we print out this. So there we go, right? That's a pretty simple introduction to methods. But we can do a lot more with methods. So let's say we created something that returns an integer. So let's say static int, and then we'll say add, right? So we wanted to add something together. Now in this case, yet again we have our return statement. In this case, add, right? You wanted to add something together. Well, how would you tell this method which numbers you wanted to add together, right? Well, it's pretty simple. This is where the arguments come in. So every method will either have arguments or it might just be blank. Now, an argument is basically something you type into these brackets. So in the case of this right here, this is a method, the .print method, or print line. Usually you do print line. And as you can see, it has brackets, and then I put s in those brackets, and it printed out s, right? It printed out the value of s. So in this case, if I wanted to create something that would add two numbers, I could go int a, int b, right? So this is basically how you do it. You sort of instantiate these numbers, int a and int b, and also you can mix it too. That's the thing. You can have double. It doesn't all have to be the same type. You can have it to be a string, whatever you want, but let's just do this. And if you then went down here and said return a plus b, right, we're not quite done yet, because let's go down here and let's create int a is equal to 6, and then we can go int b is equal to 7. Then the result of 6 plus 7 we should be able to get if we were to go add, and then we went a and b. Alright, and then we put this, so yet again, this is just a value, right? This is basically, by calling this, what we're doing is we're calling this, right? We're calling this value here. And we get 13. So, and then again, you could always do something like this, int sum is equal to add a and b, right? You could always do that if you want. And then you could put sum in here. And then there you go, you get 13. So this is basically what you can do with methods, and there's a few more little things you can do with them. Yet again, making them public. Usually you'll start with public because that's kind of the standard thing. But yet again, this is stuff we'll talk about later, as well as kind of static because it relates to more object type stuff. But for now, this is basically how you do it. And yet again, as you can see, everything's within the class, right? So you don't do methods outside of the class. You can't do that. It has to be inside of the class. And yeah, so other than that, that's about it for today. And we will have a few more examples of this kind of stuff later.